Right. Uh, I'm Dr. Joe Doduro, the president CEO of ProNeurolight, which is a photobiomodulation company. And I'm very happy to be bringing this information with one of my coaches, Alicia Reed. And we're going to be talking about care for the caregivers. And that's a very great topic. I get very excited when I talk about it. When I have an expert in the field explaining this stuff to me, it really resonates with me. I think it needs to be heard. So without further ado, Alicia, you can share.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
And I'll mute, so if you get in trouble, I'll have to unmute. If I start saying, you say something.
Yeah,
Okay, can everybody mute themselves?
leftovers. Wait, take that mask off.
I can handle that part. Make sure you can share. Making you raise your hand or you can chat. I can see all that stuff as we go along. And into the 4th of January. Put this together very easily because we're both passionate. There we go. Very good. I got to unmute Alicia. Hold on, Alicia.
Okay, can you all see my screen? Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. They're unmuted. Yeah, everything's good.
Okay, good. Okay, here we go. So, health and wellness tips for caregivers.
Alicia. Do it to present. Yep. Do it on the present mode.
Let's see. Where's the present one? I don't think I've seen it.
Right down there. It's down there. It's a little triangle. Little triangle or present. Oh, keep going. Keep going.
Oh,
What is caregiver burnout?
There we go. Okay. What is caregiver burnout? Burnout may be a state of physical enthusiasm and mental weariness. It may be an alter in demeanor from positive and caring to negative and unconcerned. Burnout can happen when caregivers do not get the assistance they require, or on the off chance that they attempt to do more than they are able physically or financially. Many caregivers too feel blameworthy in case they spend time on themselves instead of on their sick or elderly adored ones. Caregivers who are burned out may have involvement with weariness, push, uneasiness, and discouragement. Caregiver statistics. According to ageplace.org, of working caregiver, 8% state that they have been sidelined from their job. The growth opportunities because of their caregiving responsibilities. Alzheimer's and disease and other mental health conditions are more stressful on caregivers than dealing with physical ailments. About 3/4 of the respondents found it to be stressful, and more than half found it to be overwhelming. Depression affects about 20 to 40% of all caregivers. In the US, most caregivers are females, and the patient receiving home care is the caregiver's mother most of the time. You need to reduce stress, be physical, maybe yoga because you need meditation. Find someone that you trust that you can talk to. Set realistic goals. Take advantage of resources that's available to you. If you're a family caregiver, I want you to know that respite is available, or assistant living, or any facility that would take your loved one for short term. Okay. Don't forget about yourself. Do something that is pleasing, okay? Join support group, speak to a professional. I want to leave some inspiration with you. So, there are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver. From Rosalind Carter. God gave burdens, he also gave shoulders. By Yiddish proverb. Caring about others, running the risk of feeling, and leaving an impact on people brings happiness. Harold Kushner, Rabbi. My personal journey: I have been a caregiver personally for over 16 years. I have been hospitalized for caring too much. You must get rest, and you must have balance in your life versus your personal, in your work life as well. As a caregiver, we don't think about ourselves. So don't forget about yourself. Don't be another caregiver that's burnt out. Take care of yourselves. I want to thank you for your time. You can find me at the links below, and you can check out my books. It will help you not to be burnt out. It also, I want to know, are you wanting to get in a caregiver setting to become a professional caregiver? If you are, I have a course available. So I would like to tell you, I am a published author, and one of my books is Health and Wellness Tips for Caregivers. You can find it on Amazon, as well as Memory of Surviving, inspirational quotes and poems with a 30-day journal, and also a caregiver's guide to Alzheimer's and dementia, and herbal healing for your mind as well. For the course, the Caregivers Essential Guide course, it teaches you about the settings of being in a caregiver world that's professional, from like long-term care, memory care, the different settings you will work in, what to expect, the legal aspects of it, infection control, so forth, so on. It just gives you the in-depth part of being a caregiver, legal terms. The course is the first 30 people get 20% off, and the code is Essential Guide. And I'll put some of this information in the chat and the links as well. So I want you to know that I am a licensed dementia specialist, educator. I have my own business, Serenity Alzheimer's and Dementia Training. I will post my website in the chat, as well as my social media, and also everything about me you can find on my website. Please follow me on all of my social media. Please join my Facebook group. There's free dementia education in that group, as well as the Facebook page. So I will make sure I drop all that information in the chat. Also, I have a communication brochure that I would like to share with you. All you have to do is hit the link, enter your email information. It will prompt you to confirm your email, and then you can download the free communication dementia training guide. I want to thank you all for being a part of the presentation, and I will get those links in the comments right now.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let me admit everybody here. They're just coming in now. That was a great presentation. We'll have it ready for the link, and all that brochure will be in the Facebook group too. So now we're going to give a little bit of my presentation. Does anybody have any questions now at this point? Not really. I thought that was great. Now I'm going to put my 2 cents in here. mute to here. And this one. This is my presentation on care for the caregivers. Methods, this is about caregiver care and the methods that improve quality of life for all, right? Examination of the positive and negative dementia caregiving experiences, right? We know that caregiving is a privilege, it's also a sacrifice, right? So to gain a more complete understanding of the dementia caregiving experience, they looked at the positive aspects of caregiving mutually between caregivers and people with dementia and caregiver burden. And there is rewards and satisfactions with the caregiver relationship, and generally includes a sense of personal accomplishment and gratification, increased family cohesion and functionality, and a sense of personal growth and functions in life. Greater positive aspects of caregiving have been reported among caregivers of patients with greater dementia scores. Younger caregivers, caregivers who were blood relatives of the person with dementia, and caregivers who were African American. Caregiver burden encompassed various negative aspects. Those were considered things like the greater burden when there's an increase in disease progression, right? Greater cognitive impairment, greater activities of daily living reduction, dependency, greater instrumental activities of daily living, dependency. Greater caregiver burden is reported when the caregiver is the person with this dementia spouse, when the caregiver is older, or when the person with dementia is a woman. And those all ring true, right? So caregivers are more likely to have subjective cognitive decline. So it's very important that people, even with mild cognitive impairment, right? Let me give my annotator. I have a little spotlight. That even with people with mild cognitive impairment, which would be the, I just a little bit off type of thing, and that they can even increase the cognitive impairment for the caregiver. Mild cognitive impairment is a term used to refer to an intermediate state between normal aging and dementia. It depends on their education level and stuff like that, but we know approximately 30 to 40 million people around the world are living with dementia. And only about 50% of them are actually diagnosed with dementia. So how many do we have with mild cognitive impairment? And how many do we have with post-COVID brain? So these numbers are huge. And that number will triple by the year 2050, triple. And it's even going to be higher when you look at the long hauler syndrome. At least as many family members are likely to be providing care or support for their relatives with dementia. It's not surprising, therefore, that more people are looking at this to see what it is. And it considerable challenges for individuals that have a mild cognitive impairment, but also for the family members. And it shows that it can develop. We're just looking at this because it definitely affects the caregivers. Difference of rate of cognitive decline and caregiver burden between Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia. Is there a difference? And so they found that sadness, stress, anxiety, that's worry, fatigue, and sleep disorders were reported as the main preoccupation by caregivers, and its impact was rated as severe in 50% of the cases. These were the average people were about 83 years old, right? And the average people with vascular dementia were 73. So not old, but even those people. So overall perceptions is that health was severe in 50% of the people. Stress, anxiety, and what they say here is that stress and anxiety are often reported by caregivers. There are more than 1 of 3 individuals in the studies. So this is basically what they're saying is, whatever the underlying pathology, Doesn't matter if you have it from the vascular for just being an old dementia, it's just still generates a lot of distress and caregiver burden. Stress-related cognitive decline in dementia caregivers. We have to be aware that even physically, if we get weak, we are mentally going to be weak, right? So physiological and self-rated stress-rated measures, perceived stress, depression, mindfulness, fatigue, sleep quality, and neuroticism performed worse than non-caregivers in their brain function. So the stress and the wear and tear not only gives you physical impairment, but if you can't recover, if the caregiver can't get better, everything's going to go down. And impaired sleep. All these things are very important. This is a wave of literature right now that's out on this, that we have to protect our health as caregivers and our brain health. Because does caring for a spouse with dementia accelerate cognitive decline? Right? That's what we're talking about. Dementia caregivers are at greater risk for negative emotional health outcomes compared to non-caregivers. They're more likely to experience depression, social isolation, obesity, cortisol, reduced, antibodies. Caregivers may experience increased risk of subsequent dementia or cognitive problems relative to non-caregivers. So the way I look at it is spousal dementia caregivers are more likely to experience decline in all these things. Our findings are significant for the policies. Older people, more dementia, more post-COVID, more families taking care of people, okay? And that's what the whole point is. Improve the health outcomes of quality of life in both caregivers and individuals with dementia. And that's really what we've always strived for. Sleep disturbances and everything like that. Our type of a coaching program that we put together is a system that helps people with cognitive decline. Not only patients, clients, loved ones, but the caregivers. And we do that in two ways. One, I say that you become the caregiver and you get empowered. We don't give you one more thing to beat up the caregiver, or 20 more things, or come to the office every 3 days. How stressful is that when you don't even have your own schedule? This is something you do in the house. You can help the people. The home becomes your hospital and your kitchen becomes your pharmacy. And Alicia and I might be doing recipes videos in the future, because we know that you have to learn how to take care of yourself. Make quick meals that you can get to and stuff like that. That's all part of what I coach when I'm coaching. And this is the whole Pro Neuro program. We can go over that, and anybody that wants it, that they can request it. But restorative sleep, re-energize, maximize, right? We use photobiomodulation with all the supplements, detox, exercise, some movements, relax your mind, some unwind, and re-energize, and connectedness, being together with people. We suggest that a full suite of photobiomodulation devices, right? And it's a way for you to get all this information and help your body get better. But the point is, so two ways that the patient, that everybody gets better, is that the client or the person that's let's say person with dementia, PWD, or the person with cognitive decline, they can get better, and that reduces caregiver stress. But the caregiver can treat themselves and increase their brain to ward off cognitive decline, to increase their sleep, right? To make them sleep more soundly, deeper, restore them at the same time. So that's why we use the lights that increase the circulation in the brain and what have you. And this is kind of the units. And basically, this is from our paper that we published in 2019 or 17. This is caregivers' stress was reduced when we had our patient 0 go from demented to normal in 28 days. Caregiver stress was reduced because we were very aware of what happened to the caregivers. And the caregiver rated self-care assessments as the patient or the client became normalized, right? 8 was normal. The caregiver stress went down and the caregiver's health improved. So if that's just taking care of the client. And when we get the caregiver taking care of themselves, they're going to see the same types of changes in reduced stress and less anxiety and better sleep and all that recharge that we're about. And this is my book that we're working on. It's almost done, should be ready for release next month. And this is really the manual of how we take care of people. My Brain Matters, the neurometabolic solution. How to have more brain power for your loved ones and yourself. That's what I'm about. Let me see how this goes. And if anybody has any question, ask to unmute there. Alicia. Does anybody know how to raise their hand if they want? Alicia, what'd you think?
Sounds good. Anybody has any questions? Any questions you would like to ask?
Do you have any questions for me, Alicia?
No, no questions.
So I think that getting this insight that we're about not really coping, because that can just mean just getting by. We're about improving the
Right.
outcomes and the health for the client or the person that has needs care, person of care, and also the caregivers. And I think that this is a great 1-2 punch.
Yes. Do you have any links you're gonna post in the chat for them to get, or?
No, really, there's
No?
just more information on
Okay.
if they want any information, they can just email me or respond
Yes.
to any of the stuff. And I'm going to be putting your brochure in the Facebook group, and we'll see what we can do as for the next replay.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank all the participants for coming and listening to us talk. I
Yes.
think we said some good things, Alicia.
We
So
did. Thank you for coming.
luckily, we recorded it. Okay. And so I'll see you guys all on the net. Okay. All in the web. Bye.
Okay.